Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Crypto Bobby, aka Bobby 12-year-old beard. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And today, I want to talk about the upcoming Ethereum Constantinople hard fork and why I think it will have a positive impact on the supply and demand of ETH, as well as the price of ETH, and how I'm adjusting my portfolio because of that. A lot of interesting things to cover and a lot of things that we can dive into. As always, appreciate your thoughts. So if you have any thoughts, kind of following the video or right now in regards to your thoughts on the ETH price, would love to hear from you. And as always, hit the thumbs up button at the end of the video if you do enjoy as well. So let's hop into it now. So as I'm sure some of you noticed over the past really close to 2 weeks or so, ETH bottomed out USD price wise around December 15th, December 16th, really kind of bottomed out at around $80. And ever since the kind of slow just death of ETH under $100, literally seeing the double digit shitcoin that Arthur Hayes, the CEO of BitMEX, so aptly predicted, ETH went on a nice little bit of a rebound starting on December 16th, all the way up to the price of around $155 from December 16th, all the way up to 8 days later. Ethereum bounced almost 90%. Now it's back down to about a 54% bounce over the past 10 days. But Ethereum has bounced very nicely. And number one, it's been good to see for anybody, I think, in the crypto market with any exposure to Ethereum. And a lot of the ERC20 tokens are value tied to ETH as well. But it has been a pretty large move, not only on the ETH USD chart, but if we pull up the ETH Bitcoin chart as well, you could see a similar type of move. While Bitcoin has been relatively, I don't want to say stable, but while Bitcoin's been kind of chilling out, not doing all that much, ETH bounced almost 40+% on the Bitcoin pair and is now settled up about 30% over the last 11 days since the 15th. So Ethereum has shown strength not only against the USD chart, which in many cases is because of the strength of Bitcoin, at least in the past 10 days or so, but also ETH has been outperforming Bitcoin for the past 10 days. And that is obviously with the context that if we zoom this chart out, ETH has gotten absolutely slaughtered against Bitcoin. While Bitcoin is down 80%, Ethereum is down actually 90%. If we pull over to on-chain FX, ETH is still down 91% from the all-time highs, but depending upon, as always, depending upon when and where you've deployed capital, that makes a massive difference. In the past 7 days, ETH is up 22% against Bitcoin. The past 30 days, ETH is up 17% against Bitcoin. So ETH has been performing relatively well against Bitcoin in the past 7 to 30 days. Now, why does that matter? Why do I potentially care about this at all? Well, one of the big things that I think is worth looking at, and this is an article from December 7th. So this article itself is a bit of old news, but the contents of it are fairly important. And so what's happening is there's an Ethereum hard fork it's not a contentious hard fork. It's not the Bitcoin Cash ABC versus Bitcoin Cash SVC, or there's no kind of two warring factions or anything like that you need to be concerned of. But there's a hard fork with Bitcoin that's building in, or excuse me, with Ethereum that's building in upgrades in what they're calling Constantinople, happening in mid-January. Now, if we scroll down to this, one of the big things that's going to be happening is the estimated time, and this is by block time, it's not by date or anything, but the estimation by block time is this will occur around January 14th. So we have a few weeks for this. We have about 3 weeks for this to actually play out. But why is this important? And one of the big things that I think the Constantinople upgrade and why it's interesting is that this is actually reducing, this is putting in a number of different improvements. They're putting in place 5 different what they call Ethereum improvement proposals. So they call them EIPs, and essentially it's a way to improve the Ethereum network. They're proposed by the developers, and they get voted on, and they essentially get implemented. These are getting implemented with the hard fork. But if we go over to a thread from Alex Kruger, which is at crypto_macro, he put this out on Christmas Eve, and This is happening, so around January 16th is actually the estimated time now, not the 14th, because that article was from early December. But the Constantinople hard fork will actually reduce the block rewards from 3 ETH to 2 ETH. So it's decreasing the supply of new ETH that come onto the market from miners. So when miners are acquiring blocks of, or when miners are mining ETH, the block reward is being reduced from 3 to 2. That has happened before, where the ETH rewards were reduced from 5 to 3, and now it's going from 3 to 2. On the long run, he says this is decidedly bullish. I think there's kind of two different things when I'm looking at this. When I'm looking at this happening, I will certainly link to the thread. There have been a number of Ethereum-based hard forks upgrades that have affected the supply of ETH in the past, and the pricing has been, there have been various effects on the pricing in the past, both on the positive side as well as on a pretty flat side that not too much has happened there. But I think this is definitely worth a solid read here in regards to his thoughts on the market. From my opinion, though, when I'm looking at this, I think that there's two components of it. There's the run up to the Constantinople hard fork, and then there is the timing afterwards in which this occurs. I think with the run up to the Constantinople hard fork, this is something that is being discussed, but I think it's rather lightly. I don't want to say this is akin to the Bitcoin halving reward, but in some cases it is. You are directly reducing the supply of new ETH that's coming onto the market. And so you are reducing the amount of ETH that miners are either dumping on exchanges to pay for new hardware, to pay for costs, whatever it might be. You are directly reducing the new supply of ETH. Granted, there is already a massive supply of Ethereum, but that does have positive pricing implications on supply and demand. So I do think that there is going to be kind of two different components of it. You have the hype leading up to the Constantinople hard fork, and then you also have the continued effects on the supply and demand, reducing the actual new supply of Ethereum. If demand stays static, that's obviously an assumption. But if the demand stays static, then you would assume that the price would at some point in time rise based off that in the future. So when I'm looking at this right now, I adjusted my portfolio over the past few days, entered into more ETH. As a lot of you guys know, I had DAI in my portfolio, which is a stable coin, entered into ETH at around 110 to 115. So that went all the way up to 155, but entered into ETH at around 110 to 115. So right now I'm actually equal portions Bitcoin and Ethereum. I do think that for the time being, ETH will actually outperform Bitcoin in the market. So on the ETH to BTC pair, I do, my opinion, and this could be outright wrong as always, but I do think that when you look at the ETH to Bitcoin trade pair, you're going to see ETH have continued momentum there, which is why I moved some dollars into Ethereum as well as some Bitcoin. So again, equally weighted right now, about 40% of my portfolio is Bitcoin, about 40% of my portfolio is in ETH, and fairly happy about that. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the run up to Constantinople and how that might develop into the future. Now, a couple caveats to that is number one, like how would this not come true? So obviously this is an educated guess in my opinion. This is certainly of no guarantee to happen at all. And when I look at it, one of the big things that I think will invalidate this is if Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market as a whole drops heavily. If Bitcoin drops heavily, or if just the entire crypto market, which is usually led by Bitcoin dropping. But if Bitcoin drops heavily, I do think that Ethereum will follow, typically does follow. Maybe it outperforms slightly on an Ethereum to Bitcoin trade pair. But if Bitcoin drops heavily, I think you're going to see Ethereum lose significant value from a USD trade pair as well. So I think that's like one of the big things that would cause me a bit of worry here. In addition to that, I do think that whether that be from just the global market panic that's happening right now, the stock market on Christmas Eve was a total shit show today. So far, December 26th hasn't been good. So I think whether that could be from global market fears or just crypto being crypto, and some type of either big catalyst or just the price moves negatively on us. I do think that if Bitcoin is not able to at least hold somewhat steady in the 4,000 range, I think that would probably invalidate just this thought process and this setup for me as a whole. So I'm certainly keeping an eye on what's happening with ETH on a both USD level and on a Bitcoin level as we approach the Constantinople hard fork date on January 16th, as well as what ends up happening afterwards when you consider the reduction in new supply that's entering the market with that block reduction with that block reward going from 3 to 2, and how that might also impact the potential continued hype around ETH Serenity or Ethereum Serenity upgrade, the move to proof of stake, and a number of other components like that. Would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Happy to take your questions and commentary. So thank you guys so much for that. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. And if you are new to the channel or to the podcast, would love for you to hit that subscribe button. Helps to get this video out to as many people as possible as well. Really appreciate the time. Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.